But Leo, along with the steady paycheck and insurance, was gone. Can you find Helen Saunders' original rental application? Those records would be in the warehouse if we still have them. There's $500 for the guy who can find it for me. Why? Never know. I don't know. I could lose my job. She leveled her gaze on the guy, sensing that despite his worry, he would be looking for that application. Thanks for your help. I can take it from here. I should stay. I got an obligation to my tenant. I'm not here to steal, she said, just following up on a tip. The manager eyed the camera and its strategic placement several beats before he raised his gaze to her face. Do I know you? I don't think so. He shook his head, wagging his finger. You do the news. Nikki switched the camera on. Did. You got canned, right? It's complicated. She had been chasing a story on political corruption and government contracting. The deeper she had dug into the systemic graft, the more committed she had become to the story. In the end, she had been damn proud of the final draft, which was some of her best work. However, the politically savvy station manager had not been as thrilled, and his heavy-handed edits had gutted the story. The stubborn streak that had propelled her up the career ladder now demanded she dig in her heels. Despite her manager's ultimatum, she had read the story on the air during prime time. The next morning, when she had arrived at the station, her manager had canned her on the spot and had her escorted out of the building. She had been taken aback, though not surprised. But as she had marched out of the office with her box of belongings, she had been optimistic because she'd believed her credentials would land her a job in another market. What she'd discovered was that her story had offended some powerful people who had seen to it that every major and minor news market was closed to her. Refusing to let her temper rise, she angled her camera toward the building manager's face. Make sure I don't accidentally film you when I go live. He turned his face away. I can't be on camera. We're not supposed to be here. I could get fired. Take it from me. You don't want that. The manager eased away from the door. I'll be back here. Whatever works. Of course, she wasn't actually going live. Given her luck, this entire adventure could be a stunt designed to humiliate her. She plucked her phone from her back pocket and held it up, knowing a second camera angle might come in handy during editing. In selfie mode, she began to record. I just received an anonymous tip through my website, Crime Connection, she said, loud enough for the camera to pick up her voice. My source tells me to look for a gray trunk in this particular location. She panned around the space and then propped her phone on an old dresser mirror and continued to move boxes filled with crap that should have been tossed a decade ago. Dust soon coated her jeans and very expensive turquoise top. The grime would enhance the television drama, but would be hell on the dry cleaning bill. The camera jostled when she bumped it with a dusty box. It's an average storage unit that most of us who've lived in an urban apartment would have used at one time or another. She moved a lamp from an ugly 1970s-style end table and angled her body around the table. Nikki looked directly into the frame, wanting the lens to catch her pensive look. As she turned, she spotted the gray trunk. After grabbing the leather side handle, she hefted the trunk and found it much lighter than expected. She set the trunk in the hallway, where the light was marginally better. Though she felt a rush of excitement, she did not hurry the opening. The build-up could be as important as the payoff. A gray trunk. She picked up the phone and pointed it toward the tarnished brass lock. Multiple angles always worked well in editing. Her fingers hovered over the lock. As she adjusted the lens in for a close-up, the manager peered over her shoulder, partly blocking her shot. She swatted him back as she pressed the release button on the lock. To her delight, it popped open. She lifted the lid. The box was filled with stained, brittle tissue paper which crumbled on contact. Her insides tingled. She still...